And I'm just on the Bitcoin train because I believe that my money is safer there. I'm not talking about versus the US dollar, just in general. And I think that that does.
Crypto.
Yeah, it was always a hot dumpster fire.
Always?
Bitcoin is internet money. It's a system of money that exists on the internet, was created on the internet, and it allows you to send and receive value the same way you can send and receive an email anywhere in the world.
Crypto.
Yeah, it was always a hot dumpster fire.
Always?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that it was all fraud. Some of it was a pyramid scheme. There's never been anything there. It serves no purpose. It's not a store of value. It's not a medium of exchange. And as we have seen, if you want it decentralized and not under government control, it is a haven for fraudsters. And now it is in the process of going to zero, except for Bitcoin, which will probably go negative, because if we're moving into a world with carbon taxes, you have to take into account the energy that it took to produce it in the first place.
Well, that's certainly playing out with like FTX.
Yeah.
Where you're finding out that
There'll be
it's a
more.
house of cards.
Yeah, there'll
Do
be
you,
more.
do you feel like that's just sort of opened the door for people to examine all of crypto now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like as soon as you have one of the big ones go down, it's just
And just
a
go
matter
down catastrophically
Yeah.
within a week.
Yeah, I mean, just there's no intrinsic value to this asset.
Slew of young people who are just opting out, and they're moving to building parallel systems, parallel networks, which is pretty much the only thing you can do. We have all the technology, everything we need. My two projects, I bring them together, brought them together, is podcasting that is protected and Bitcoin. And I'm just on the Bitcoin train because I believe that my money is safer there. I'm not talking about versus the US dollar, just in general. And I think that that does, I think that we will see that in our future as very, very protective for everything. You know, as they say, Bitcoin fixes this. If you can fix the money, that's the broken part. The money system is broken. It causes the inflation. It causes the misery. It causes wars because it's linked to oil. So we have to go protect all that shit. It's fucked up. The dollar. I love America. We used to have our own. The banks would create dollars. They were promissory notes until this Federal Reserve Act came into play. It was a takeover. That's what Kennedy was talking about. The power that is unspoken by man. It's this banking system. If we continue to be in that, we're just fucked.
Yeah, and I have a lot of hope for cryptocurrencies. I really do. I don't know too much about them, but Bitcoin seems to be the one, in the Ethereum, the ones that the people who are in the know talk about the most. And my point is that what we're seeing right now, it's either going to go one way or the other. It's either going to fall apart completely, or we're going to use this as an opportunity to right the ship and come up with a better way to live our lives. It's going to be one or the other.
The fundamental difference, just so I say it, because otherwise people beat me up, the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is Bitcoin, there will only be 21 million. It cannot be changed. It cannot be inflated. You cannot say the same for Ethereum.
Oh, okay.
That's the main difference. Also, there's no CEO of Bitcoin.
Oh, there's a CEO of Ethereum?
Well, there's if you look at the history of it,
Eventually it's
changes
gonna be king
can
of the
be made.
metaverse, and that's going to be a problem.
Well,
Bitcoin is internet money. It's a system of money that exists on the internet, was created on the internet, and it allows you to send and receive value the same way you can send and receive an email anywhere in the world, instantaneously, without intermediaries. And that's kind of what you see at first glance. Behind that, it's a whole platform. It is, as the title of the book says, the Internet of Money. It is a set of protocols that allow you to basically exchange value with other people. But you can do a lot more with it than just that. Most people will use it as a currency. It's basically money that you can transmit from your smartphone to somebody else's smartphone directly, just like cash, but electronic. And the thing about it that's unique is that it's not owned by any corporation, any bank, or any government, just like the web isn't owned by anyone, or email isn't owned by anyone. And there's lots of companies that can send and receive email. There's lots of companies that can set up websites. There's a lot of companies that can set up applications that use Bitcoin. It's really quite interesting what happens when you create a form of money that is truly global. We really don't have forms of money that are truly global. If you even with your very advanced banking system and your access to all of the technology that you have in the American banking system, if you try to send money to some countries, it's almost impossible to do. And I experience this every time I get paid in Bitcoin. I'll go into a conference in Europe, and I'll do one conference with a banking industry and one conference with the Bitcoin community. And the little Bitcoin conference is going to be free to attend. And I don't make any money, but they sometimes cover some of my expenses. And I'll send an invoice, and the banking industry conference will send me a wire transfer. It takes, on average, 4 weeks for me to get it, with several calls to find out where it went, what's going on, why did it get lost. And it takes me on average 15 minutes to get paid in Bitcoin, no matter which country I'm being paid in.
This is a cynic in me. Is this because when they take the money and they're transferring it, they're moving it around, and now it's sitting in banks. When banks have money, if they have your money, even if it's just for a few weeks, they have the opportunity to use that money to make more money. Are they doing that?
It certainly doesn't. It doesn't hurt to keep it a bit longer. They're doing it primarily because the system has a series of intermediaries, and each of those intermediaries represent a risk. If one of those intermediaries says, I have the money for Mr. Antonopoulos' wire, and you give that money to Antonopoulos, but the intermediary doesn't give it to you, you're out of money, right? So there's risk. With every intermediary you put in, there's risk, and that's called counterparty risk. Because of the way the banking system is, with perhaps 5, 6, 7 intermediaries in a single transfer, that creates a lot of cumulative risk, and they protect with that risk by slowing things down. And that risk doesn't exist in Bitcoin because it's from one party directly to another. No counterparties. That's one of the core principles. The funny thing, I had this conversation with my bank. I had done this conference in Germany, Frankfurt, at the headquarters of the Bundesbank. Now, for those of your viewers or listeners who don't know, the Bundesbank is the federal bank of Germany. And they probably consider the United States Federal Reserve to be a mediocre creditor compared to the Bundesbank. This is like the best credit rating on the planet, right? And I'm going to speak at a conference there, and they're paying me for my expenses. They send a wire transfer, and I call my bank, and after 4 weeks, they finally find it and tell me, we've received your bank wire transfer. We're going to hold it because of the risk profile. I'm like, I don't understand. Well, you haven't been paid by this particular payer before, so we're going to put a hold on it. I said, you do know this is the Bundesbank, right? You are holding, and they held it for 2 weeks. You are holding for 2 weeks because of the credit risk of the Federal Bank of Germany, the most creditworthy institution. I'm not trying to receive money from Somalia. You know, this isn't even something weird. And if even they can't pay me in the age of the internet instantaneously, there is something wrong with this banking system. And there is. Because I got paid for the Bitcoin conference I was doing in the same town instantaneously.